Look up at the night sky tonight, really look at it and think about this. The same stars that guide us now once shone over ancient storytellers, poets, and dreamers who gazed upward and saw not just distant lights, but entire worlds of meaning. They turned the cosmos into a canvas, painting stories of gods and heroes, love and war across the darkness. This is the magic of celestial metaphors, the way humanity has always used the heavens to explain the unexplainable, to give shape to our deepest fears and hopes. From the Greeks who saw Orion the Hunter striding eternally across the sky, to indigenous cultures who read the Milky Way as a river of spirits, every civilization has looked up and found reflections of their own lives written in the stars. What's astonishing is how these cosmic stories echo across time and culture, as if the night sky speaks a universal language. An eclipse wasn't just a shadow passing over the sun, it was a dragon devouring the light, a warning from the gods, or a celestial battle playing out above us. Comets weren't mere balls of ice, they were messengers, omens of change hurtling through the void. Even today, when science has unraveled so many of the sky's mysteries, we still describe black holes as abysses or portals, as if some part of us can't help but see them as metaphors for the unknown depths of our own existence. So here's the question we're going to explore together. Why do these celestial metaphors resonate so powerfully, even now? What is it about the dance of planets, the flicker of distant stars, or the slow march of constellations that feels intimately tied to what it means to be human? Over the course of this journey, we'll uncover how eclipses shaped empires, how comets sparked revolutions, and how even the coldest equations of astronomy can't strip the sky of its storytelling power. This isn't just a tale of science, it's a reminder that when we look up, we're also looking inward. So let's begin where all great stories do, under a sky full of wonders waiting to be decoded. For thousands of years, humans have done something extraordinary. We've taken the cold, indifferent physics of starlight and spun it into stories that warm our souls. Take Polaris, that steady pinprick of light we call the North Star. In reality, it's just another fusion reactor hanging in space, but to us, it became a celestial compass, a metaphor for perseverance so powerful that used it to guide enslaved people to freedom, calling it the drinking gourd. That's the alchemy of the cosmic mirror. We look at balls of plasma billions of miles away and see reflections of our own resilience. The ancient Egyptians saw something equally profound in Sirius, the star in our sky. When it appeared just before dawn each year, they didn't just note an astronomical event, they celebrated the flooding of the Nile, the lifeline of their civilization. To them, Sirius wasn't merely a star, it was a divine herald of renewal. Fast forward to today and we still give stars this symbolic weight. Think of how we say someone is reaching for the stars or call a celebrity a rising star. The language of ambition hasn't changed. We've just swapped gods for gold records. Poets and scientists alike have marveled at this duality. Whitman wrote of the stars as the letters of God, while Carl Sagan reminded us they're actually distant suns, so far away their light takes centuries to reach us. Both truths coexist. Stars are nuclear furnaces and metaphors for the human spirit. That's why a dying star's supernova can represent both cosmic destruction and the breathtaking idea that even in death, we scatter the elements of life across the universe. And if stars are humanity's mirrors, planets are our storyboards, each world carrying its own mythology. Mars wasn't just a red dot to the Romans, it was the god of war, a symbol of aggression we still invoke today. Venus, shimmering in twilight, became the embodiment of love. These aren't just old tales gathering dust, they're proof that when we run out of earthly words, we borrow from the heavens to explain our own nature. So next time you hear someone say the stars aligned, remember, we're not just talking about astronomy. We're confessing in the quietest way that we still see ourselves written in the sky. If the stars are our mirrors, then the planets are our teachers, each one whispering a different lesson through the language of motion and myth. Take Mercury, that swift little world racing around the sun in just 88 days. Ancient civilizations didn't just see a planet, they saw a messenger, a trickster, an embodiment of quick thinking. The Romans named it after their fleet-footed god, while the Maya called it the Great Star and tied its movements to the timing of sacred ceremonies. Even today, we call someone articulate mercurial, proving how deeply this cosmic sprinter shaped our idea of communication. But here's the twist. Mercury's speed isn't just poetic, it's physics. Its short orbit means it changes direction in our sky more often than other planets, appearing to dart back and forth like a cosmic negotiator sealing deals between the Sun and Earth. Then there's Saturn, the ringed sentinel of time. In Western astrology, it's the stern teacher, the planet of discipline, boundaries, and hard-won wisdom. But look closer, and you'll find this metaphor echoed across cultures. Vedic astrology calls it the slow-moving judge of karma, where its 30-year orbit mirrors the cycles of maturity and consequence. Even astronomically, Saturn's rings, those dazzling bands of ice and dust, act like a celestial clock, their divisions marking gravitational rhythms. No wonder so many traditions see Saturn as the universe's way of asking, what are you willing to work for? Its rings aren't just beautiful, they're a cosmic metaphor for the circles we all move through, seasons of effort, patience, and eventual reward. Now shift your gaze to Jupiter, the solar system's generous giant. Where Saturn restricts, Jupiter expands. Both in size, it's larger than all other planets combined in symbolism. The Babylonians linked it to their king of gods, Marduk, while the Greeks saw Zeus in its stormy swirls. But perhaps the most telling detail lies in its moons. Jupiter's gravity shelters nearly 80 of them, a celestial protector offering cosmic real estate to wayward rocks. That's why jovial means cheerful, why lotteries and lucky breaks so often bear Jupiter's name. It's the planetary embodiment of abundance. Yet sometimes the most profound metaphors come from unexpected places. Consider the Lakota story of Venus, the evening star who appears as a radiant woman guiding lost travelers home. Astronomically, Venus is a hellscape of crushing pressure and acid clouds. But to the people who watched it gleam low on the horizon, it was a promise. You are not alone in the dark. So here's a question to carry with you tonight. Which planet's lesson speaks to you now? Are you in a Mercury phase, spinning ideas like solar orbits? A Saturn season, building something that will outlast you? Or maybe Jupiter's largesse is calling, an invitation to trust the universe's generosity. And if you think these planetary stories are powerful, wait until you hear what the moon has been trying to tell us all along. The moon has never been just a rock hanging in the sky. It's humanity's oldest stopwatch, shapeshifter, and confidant. Think about it. While stars mark constancy, the moon is the ultimate storyteller of change. Its phases don't just measure weeks. They've given us metaphors for life's cyclical nature, waxing with hope, waning with release, vanishing only to return, full and forgiving. No wonder cultures worldwide saw faces in its craters. The Chinese whispered of a jade rabbit pounding immortality elixirs, while the Maya, the moon goddess whose silver tears became the first rains. Even today, when science tells us the man in the moon is just lava plains, we can't help but see a familiar gaze looking back, proof that the moon isn't just illuminated by the sun, but by our own imaginations. And what about the moon's darker lore? For centuries, its glow was blamed for madness, hence lunacy or linked to werewolves howling at its light. But these weren't just superstitions, they were attempts to explain the inexplicable. When the full moon rose, tides surged, animals grew restless, and people felt an unnameable pull. Modern science explains tidal forces, but the metaphor remains. The moon doesn't just move oceans, it tugs at our instincts, reminding us that we too are part of nature's rhythm. That's why poets write of love's tidal pull, and therapists speak of relationships in terms of ebb and flow. The moon taught us that even gravity has a softer side. Now witness its latest chapter. NASA's Artemis program, named after Apollo's twin sister, isn't just about returning to the moon, it's a rebirth of lunar wonder. Artemis, the Greek huntress who ruled the wilderness by night, would approve. This time, we're not just planting flags, but seeking permanence with lunar bases and telescopes. It's as if humanity is finally answering the moon's silent question: what will you grow under my light? So here's something to ponder. If the moon's phases mirror the cycles of sowing and harvest, of birth and renewal, where are you in your own lunar cycle? Are you in the new moon's quiet, gathering strength, the first quarter's decisive action, or perhaps the full moon's moment of clarity when everything feels illuminated? Because here's the secret the ancients knew: the moon doesn't just mark time. It offers a mirror for our own transformations, proving that even in the darkest night, there's a sliver of light waiting to grow. And if the moon's gentle phases teach us patience, its eclipses, those moments when shadow swallows the light whole, remind us that even the most predictable rhythms can be upended in an instant. Eclipses have always been the sky's most dramatic punctuation marks, moments when the universe seems to hold its breath. To the Babylonians, a solar eclipse wasn't just an alignment of celestial bodies. It was a dire warning scrawled across the sun. Their astronomers meticulously recorded these events, believing they foretold the fate of kings and empires. One clay tablet even describes how an eclipse once spared a ruler's life. His substitute, a pauper dressed in royal robes, was sacrificed instead to appease the gods. Meanwhile, halfway across the world, the Inca responded to eclipses with rituals of their own, banging pots and shouting to scare away the beast they believed was devouring the moon. The fear was universal, but so was the response: humanity's stubborn refusal to accept darkness without a fight. Fast forward to today, and even with NASA's precise predictions, eclipses still stir something primal in us. We may no longer see them as omens, but the metaphors linger. We speak of eclipsed careers, relationships, or hopes, moments when light seems snatched away without warning. The Cherokee tell of a giant frog swallowing the sun, only to be laughed into spitting it back out by the antics of their trickster spirit. It's a story that captures the duality of eclipses, terror tempered by the promise of return. And when the great American eclipse of 2017 painted a shadow from coast to coast, millions gathered not in fear but in collective awe. Strangers shared glasses, cities fell silent, and for a few fleeting minutes, the country stood unified under a single celestial event. Social media erupted with metaphors, calls to eclipse division, to find common ground in the darkness. Science, of course, offers its own poetry. A solar eclipse is simply the moon's shadow kissing the Earth, while a lunar eclipse paints the moon copper with refracted sunlight. Yet even astronauts admit, no equation can fully capture the eerie chill of watching day turn to twilight in seconds. That's the power of the cosmic metaphor. It bridges the gap between what we know and what we feel. So here's a question to carry into the next segment. If eclipses teach us that darkness is always temporary, what might comets, those unpredictable streakers of the night sky, reveal about the beauty of disruption? Because while eclipses arrive on schedule, comets refuse to follow any script. Comets have always been the celestial of our night sky, unpredictable, dazzling, and impossible to ignore. When Comet blazed across the heavens in 1066, medieval chroniclers didn't just see a streak of light. They saw a cosmic omen foretelling William the Conqueror's victory at Hastings. The tapestry immortalized it, stitching the comet right alongside armies and kings, as if to say, this was no accident. Centuries later, Mark Twain leaned into the same metaphor, joking that since he'd arrived with Comet in 1835, he'd go out with it too, and eerily he did, passing away just one day after its return in 1910. Whether as harbinger or muse, comets have a way of bending time, linking generations under the same fiery spectacle. But for every comet, regular as clockwork, returning every 76 years, there are the cosmic interlopers that vanish into the dark, never to be seen again. These were the true agents of chaos in ancient skies. The Romans called them hairy stars, as if their glowing tails were celestial beards trailing secrets. Chinese astronomers kept meticulous records, dubbing them broom stars that swept away old dynasties to make way for new ones. Even the word disaster comes from the Latin for bad star, a nod to the belief that calamity literally fell from the heavens. Fast forward to 2012, and that primal fear resurfaced with the Panic, a debunked myth about a rogue planet comet hybrid supposedly on a collision course with Earth. The details were modern, but the terror was ancient. What if the sky itself turns against us? Yet for all their doomsday reputations, comets also carry a quieter, more hopeful metaphor, the idea of fleeting opportunity. Think of the mission, which chased a comet for 10 years just to land a probe on its surface. The spacecraft's namesake wasn't random. The original stone unlocked Egyptian hieroglyphs, and this cosmic promised to decipher the building blocks of our solar system. When its lander finally touched down on Comet 67P, it wasn't just a triumph of engineering. It was humanity reaching out to embrace the unknown. And then there are meteor showers, those brief, brilliant performances where comets leave behind glittering debris. The Perseids, Leonids, and Geminids aren't just light shows. They're reminders that even destruction can create beauty. The Japanese festival turns this into a love story, celebrating two star-crossed deities who reunite once a year across the Milky Way, their joy sparking the annual meteors. It's a far cry from medieval portents of doom, proof that comets and their offspring can also symbolize connection, not just catastrophe. So here's a thought to carry under the next meteor shower. What's the comet in your own life? The unexpected event that split your timeline into before and after. The streak of luck or crisis that reshaped your path. Because whether it's a once-in-a-lifetime chance or a surprise upheaval, comets teach us that the universe doesn't always move in predictable orbits. Sometimes it sends a messenger, bright, sudden, and impossible to ignore, to remind us that change, like stardust, is written into the fabric of everything. There's something uniquely magical about spotting a shooting star, that split-second streak of light that feels like the universe winking at you. Scientifically, these fleeting flashes are meteors, tiny bits of cosmic debris, often no larger than a grain of sand, burning up as they slam into Earth's atmosphere at tens of thousands of miles per hour. The Perseids, which light up August nights, are remnants of Comet Swift, while the Leonids of November come from Comet. But to cultures across history, they've never been just space dust. They've been wishes made visible, promises hurled across the darkness. In Japan, the festival turns meteor showers into a love story. According to legend, the star-crossed deities and separated by the Milky Way are allowed to meet just once a year, on the 7th day of the 7th month. When they do, their joy sparks shooting stars, and people write their deepest desires on colorful strips of paper, tying them to bamboo branches in hopes the cosmos will listen. Meanwhile, in medieval Europe, meteors were often seen as souls escaping purgatory, their brief brilliance a sign of transcendence. The contrast is striking. One culture sees hope, the other sees release, yet both find profound meaning in the same celestial sparks. I'll never forget the August night I lay on a hillside, waiting for the Perseids. Just as I started doubting they'd appear, one streaked overhead, so bright it left an afterimage. In that moment, the phrase shooting star made perfect sense. It didn't feel like debris burning up. It felt like the sky had thrown a dart, and I happened to be there to catch it. I didn't even make a wish. The meteor itself was the gift, a reminder that wonder doesn't need to be practical to be real. Today, that magic lingers in our language. Songs serenade shooting stars as symbols of fleeting dreams, while ads use them to sell everything from perfume to pickup trucks. The metaphor endures because it's elastic. A shooting star can represent luck, love, or the bittersweet truth that some things shine just before they're gone. So here's a question to hold on to. When was the last time you saw a meteor and didn't instinctively wish? That reflex to turn cosmic chaos into personal hope is one of humanity's oldest habits. But if shooting stars are the sky's punctuation, constellations are its sentences, whole stories written in starlight. From Orion's eternal hunt to the Great Bear circling the pole, these patterns are more than navigation tools. They're celestial storyboards, proof that we've always looked up and seen not just stars, but the shapes of our own myths waiting to be told. Constellations are more than just connect-the-dots games written in starlight. They're the ultimate testament to human ingenuity, turning randomness into meaning. Look at Orion, that unmistakable winter figure with his belt of 3 bright stars. To the ancient Greeks, he was a mighty hunter, forever chasing the Pleiades across the sky. But sail across the Pacific to Polynesia, and those same stars become the great canoe-carrying navigators between islands. One sky, 2 stories, proof that constellations aren't discovered but created, shaped by the needs and dreams of those who gaze up. The Inuit saw Orion's belt as 3 caribou in flight, while the Lakota recognized it as the spine of a bison. Every culture read the celestial braille differently, yet all agreed on one thing: the stars were speaking, if only you knew how to listen. Then there's the zodiac, that celestial belt dividing the sky into 12 chapters of myth. Aries isn't just a ram, it's the golden fleece of Greek legend, a symbol of renewal as spring begins. Pisces, those intertwined fish, echo flood myths from Mesopotamia to the Bible, where they represent escape and salvation. Even the gaps between constellations hold meaning. The dark nebula in the Milky Way wasn't just empty space to the Aboriginal Australians. It was Emu in the sky, its silhouette formed by starlight being blocked, not shining. These patterns were more than navigation tools. They were mirrors reflecting each culture's relationship with nature, time, and the divine. But the sky hasn't always been a democracy. European colonialism didn't just redraw maps on Earth, it's celestial ones too, replacing indigenous star knowledge with Greco-Roman labels. Take Barnard's Galaxy, a faint smudge near the Milky Way named for an American astronomer. For the people of Australia, that same patch of sky is the emu's nesting ground. Efforts are now to reclaim these names, like the IAU's push to include star lore in official astronomy. Because here's the truth, constellations aren't just science. They're cultural heirlooms, and every renamed star is a step toward justice in the cosmos. Borges once wrote that the stars dictated this poem, and he was right. The night sky has always been a collaborative work of art, with each generation adding its verse. So here's a challenge for you. If you could sketch a new constellation among the stars, what story would it tell? Would it be a memorial for someone you've lost, a symbol of hope, or maybe a cosmic inside joke only you understand? Because that's the magic of celestial cartography. It reminds us that the universe is vast, but it still leaves room for our stories. And if constellations represent the stories we tell about light, black holes are the ultimate metaphor for what we can't explain, the cosmic voids that defy even our imagination. They're the places where the sky stops answering back, where gravity becomes so strong that not even metaphors escape. Yet even there, in the absence of light, we find meaning. We call them monsters, maws, portals, as if naming the unknowable makes it less terrifying. Perhaps that's why black holes captivate us, not despite their darkness, but because of it. They're the universe's way of whispering. Some mysteries aren't meant to be solved, only felt. Black holes are the universe's most perfect paradox, places where gravity becomes so strong that not even light can escape, yet they somehow illuminate our deepest fears and fascinations. Think about that for a moment. A singularity so dense it warps time itself, bending the rules of reality until they break. Stephen Hawking gave us a way to grasp their strange nature with his theory of radiation. The idea that black holes aren't entirely black, but slowly leak particles over eons. It's like a cosmic hourglass where even the most voracious voids eventually fade, whispering that nothing, not even oblivion, lasts forever. But black holes aren't just astrophysical oddities, they're mirrors for the human condition. Dante's Inferno described hell as a place where all light is silent, a line that could just as easily describe an event horizon. Modern films like Interstellar take it further, framing black holes as both monsters and metaphors. Cooper's plunge into Gargantua isn't just a space mission. It's a father's descent into the abyss of lost time, where love becomes the one force that might transcend gravity. Even physicists speak poetically about them. One cosmologist told me, light can't escape a black hole, but ideas can. And isn't that true of our own personal voids? Grief, addiction, creative blocks, they all have event horizons, points where we feel swallowed by something beyond our control. The question isn't just how to avoid them, but how to learn from what they teach us about resilience. Now consider the counterpoint, supernovas. If black holes represent endings, supernovas are the universe's way of screaming not so fast. A dying star doesn't just vanish, it explodes with such fury that it outshines entire galaxies, scattering stardust that will one day form planets, oceans, maybe even life. The same iron in your blood, forged in a supernova's heart. It's the ultimate cosmic lesson. Destruction and creation are two sides of the same coin. The Japanese concept of repairing broken pottery with gold echoes this idea. What if we saw our own fractures not as flaws, but as the places where the light gets in? So here's the challenge black holes pose to each of us. What's the abyss you faced? Maybe it was a loss that felt bottomless, a failure that seemed to warp your sense of time, or a silence that swallowed your voice. But remember, even in the deepest void, Hawking radiation hints at escape. Energy leaks back into the universe. Stories find their way out. And sometimes, like a supernova, we're meant to scatter ourselves into something new. The cosmos doesn't deal in endings, only transformations. And if the stars can rewrite their destinies in explosions of light, who's to say we can't do the same? Supernovas are the universe's most spectacular paradox. Catastrophes that create explosions that give life. Imagine a star millions of times larger than our sun, collapsing under its own weight in seconds, then rebounding with such force that it outshines entire galaxies. For a few blinding weeks, it burns brighter than 1 billion suns, scattering stardust across the cosmos. That dust isn't just debris, it's the raw material of existence. The calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, even the gold in your wedding ring, all of it was forged in the heart of a dying star. We are, quite literally, made of stardust that refused to fade quietly into the dark. This dance of destruction and creation has inspired artists for centuries. Van's Starry Night isn't just a pretty sky, it's a whirlpool of cosmic energy, his brushstrokes echoing the turbulence of a supernova's shockwaves. He painted it from an asylum window, transforming his own turmoil into something luminous. Today, we use the same metaphor in everyday speech. She went supernova, code for someone who burned their old life down to build something bolder. The phrase captures the dual truth of these explosions, terrifying in their power, yet necessary for rebirth. The Crab Nebula is a perfect example. In July 1054, Chinese astronomers recorded a guest star so bright it was visible in daylight for 23 days. They called it an omen, but what they witnessed was a supernova, one whose remnants we now study through lens, a glittering web of gas and dust still expanding 900 years later. That's the haunting beauty of cosmic time. The flash that terrified medieval is now a celestial laboratory, teaching us how death seeds new beginnings. So here's a question that Stardust asks of us all. What in your life is ready for a supernova? The job that no longer fits? The relationship that's run its course? The version of yourself you've letting go isn't failure, it's physics. Stars teach us that holding on too tightly leads to collapse, but surrender can ignite something extraordinary. And if supernovas are the universe's way of clearing the cosmic slate, then nebulas are its nurseries. Those same swirling clouds of gas and dust, the aftermath of destruction, become cradles for new stars. The Eagle Nebula's pillars of creation, immortalized by, aren't just breathtaking, they're proof that chaos and creativity are partners. Every nebula is a work in progress, a reminder that even the most scattered fragments can coalesce into light. So the next time you feel like debris, remember, you might just be stardust waiting for a new constellation. Nebulas are where the cosmos gets its hands dirty, where stardust rolls up its sleeves and gets to work building new worlds. Take the Orion Nebula, that glowing swirl in Orion's sword. Through a telescope, it looks like a celestial watercolor, all pinks and blues, but zoom in closer and you'll find chaos. Newborn stars screaming into existence, solar winds carving valleys in gas clouds, and disks spinning like cosmic pottery wheels. It's messy, violent, and breathtakingly creative, a reminder that birth is never tidy, whether you're a star or an artist staring at a blank canvas. The ancient Greeks saw Orion as a hunter, but they missed the irony. His sword holds not a weapon but a nursery, where destruction and creation dance in the same breath. Indigenous sky stories have always understood this duality. The people of Australia speak of the Milky Way as a river of life, where ancestor spirits shape the land and stars alike. To them, the Coal-Sack Nebula, that dark patch near the Southern Cross, is the emu's head, a celestial ancestor watching over the world's transformations. Meanwhile, the Navajo describe nebulas as the place where the gods breathe, where cosmic winds stir the dust of new beginnings. These aren't just myths, they're profound observations that nebulas aren't just things in the sky, they're processes alive with possibility. Carl Sagan's famous words, "We are made of," ring especially true here. The carbon in your cells, the oxygen in your lungs, the nitrogen in your DNA, all of it was cooked in nebulas like Orion's, then flung across space by supernovas. You aren't just looking at a nebula, you're looking at where you came from. This iconic pillars of creation image drives this home. Those towering columns of gas aren't static monuments. They're evolving in real time, with stars being born inside them even as you read this. Some of those infant stars will one day have planets, and maybe, just maybe, beings who will look up and wonder about their own origins. So here's a question to sit with. Where's your nebula? That mental space where ideas collide and reform, where half-formed thoughts swirl until, click, something new emerges. Maybe it's a notebook scribbled with midnight inspiration, a workshop littered with prototypes, or even the shower where your best ideas strike. Because creativity, like star formation, thrives in turbulence. The mess isn't a flaw, it's the raw material of what's next. And if nebulas are the universe's workshops, then galaxies are its grand tapestries, each one a sprawling epic of billions of stars, each with their own stories to tell. From the Whirlpool Galaxy's graceful arms to the sombrero's glowing rim, these cosmic cities remind us that even the stars are better together. Galaxies stretch the boundaries of both space and imagination, colossal cities of stars where a single pinpoint of light might host worlds beyond counting. The Milky Way alone spins with over 100 billion stars, a number so vast it rivals the neural connections in the human brain. It's no accident that ancient mystics whispered, "As above, so below." The galaxy's spiraling arms mirror the synaptic webs inside our skulls, as if the universe sketched the same blueprint at every scale. The Maori saw this kinship too, naming the Milky Way the great fish pulled from the sea by the demigod. But look closer and it's also, the celestial canoe carrying ancestors across the night sky. A boat, a fish, a brain, each metaphor reveals how we've always sought ourselves in the stars. Modern culture still leans into this cosmic mirror. Galaxy Brain memes poke fun at our hunger for enlightenment, charting intellectual growth as a series of expanding, from cramped single thoughts to dazzling nebulae of insight. It's playful but profound. The bigger our understanding grows, the more it resembles the universe itself, messy, luminous, and infinitely connective. Even the impending collision between the Milky Way and Andromeda galaxies, set for 4 billion years from now, feels oddly familiar. Scientists call it a merger, not a catastrophe, as if the cosmos knows that sometimes two giants must weave together to create something new. The metaphor writes itself. Relationships, cultures, ideas, they all collide, reshape, and emerge brighter. Yet for all their grandeur, galaxies also humble us. Stand under a truly dark sky, where the Milky Way arcs overhead like a bridge of crushed diamonds, and you'll feel it, the dizzying pull of scale. Our lives are fleeting sparks against cosmic time, our planet a speck in an ocean of black. But here's the paradox, that same vastness ties us to everything. The carbon in your coffee, the gold in your ring, even the salt on your skin, all of it was forged in galactic furnaces, scattered across light years, only to find their way into you. You aren't just in the universe, you are the universe rearranged to wonder about itself. Which brings us to time's quiet architects, the celestial rhythms that have structured human lives for. Before clocks, before calendars, we marked years by the Pleiades' return or Orion's rise. The people of Mali timed their harvests to Sirius's heliacal rising, just as the ancient Egyptians did. Farmers in Korea followed the Big Dipper's tilt to track planting seasons, while the Inca used pillars on its horizon to catch the solstice sun. These weren't just practical tools, they were conversations with the cosmos, a way of aligning our tiny lives with the grand, turning gears of the heavens. So here's a thought to carry under the next starry sky. When you check the time on your phone, you're still tapping into that ancient dialogue, just with silicon instead of starlight. The units have changed, but the longing hasn't. We still crave the reassurance that somewhere beyond the chaos, there's a pattern worth following. And maybe that's the galaxy's greatest gift, not just awe, but the quiet promise that even in the infinite, we belong. Long before clocks divided our days into minutes, the sun itself was humanity's first timepiece, its arc across the sky marking not just hours, but the turning of seasons, the rhythm of planting and harvest, the pulse of life itself. Nowhere is this celestial choreography more vividly captured than at Stonehenge, where 4,500 years ago, Neolithic builders aligned massive stones to frame the summer solstice sunrise. When dawn's first light slips between those ancient pillars, it's more than an astronomical event. It's a mirror held up to our own need for synchronicity with nature's clock. The builders didn't just track the sun, they wove its movements into their bones, turning solstices into sacred punctuation marks in the story of the year. Consider the duality of these solar milestones. The winter solstice, shortest day, longest night, wasn't just a date to ancient Europeans, it was Yule, a celebration of death and rebirth. Bonfires blazed to lure back the waning sun, while evergreens, defiantly lush in the freeze, symbolized life's persistence. Fast forward to the summer solstice and the mood flips. Festivals reveled in abundance, with maypole dances and flower crowns echoing the sun at its zenith. These weren't arbitrary holidays, they were cosmic therapy sessions, reminding people that darkness always yields to light and plenty follows scarcity. Yet somewhere between sundials and smartphones, we lost the art of solar timekeeping. Modern burnout culture races non-stop, treating time as a linear sprint rather than a cyclical dance. There's a reason farmers' almanacs, those centuries-old guides tying planting to moon phases and solstices, still sell nearly 3 million copies a year. One Vermont apple grower once told me, "I don't fight frost dates, I listen to them. The sky's smarter than my spreadsheet." His trees, pruned by celestial rhythms, bore fruit. It's a lesson we've obscured. Productivity isn't about grinding harder, but aligning with the universe's natural ebbs and flows. So here's a challenge hidden in the solstice's glow. How do you mark time's passage? Is it the frantic flip of calendar pages, or do you pause when the slant of autumn light turns golden? Do you notice how February's weak sun feels different than July's bold glare? Because the sun isn't just a star, it's life's ultimate symbol, a furnace that feeds us, a metronome keeping time for every migrating bird, blooming flower, and beating heart on this planet. Stonehenge's builders knew something we're relearning. To live well isn't to conquer time, but to move with it, like tides obeying the moon. And if the sun is time's conductor, then eclipses are its most dramatic cadenzas. Those rare moments when the universe seems to pause, take a breath, and remind us who's really in charge. The sun has always been more than a star. It's the ultimate paradox, both giver of life and bearer of unbearable truth. To the ancient Egyptians, Ra sailed his solar barge across the sky each day, a god who nourished crops but whose scorching gaze could wither the unfaithful. Meanwhile, Greek myth warned of the sun's unforgiving clarity through Icarus, the boy who flew too close on waxen wings. His fall wasn't just about hubris, it was a lesson in the duality of light, how the same rays that help us see can also blind us if we refuse to respect their power. Even today, we speak of sunny dispositions and burning truths, as if the sun's physical properties coded our emotional vocabulary ago. Consider solar flares, those violent eruptions on the sun's surface that disrupt satellites and paint the poles with auroras. They're the cosmic equivalent of human outbursts, sudden, uncontrollable releases of pent-up energy. A 17th century astronomer once described a particularly violent flare as the sun tearing its cloak, a phrase that could just as easily describe someone snapping under pressure. And what of the corona, that halo of plasma visible only during eclipses? It's a reminder that our moments often reveal hidden reserves, strength that simmers beneath the surface, invisible until circumstances pull back the veil. Pablo captured this perfectly. You are like a solar eclipse, a line that celebrates how mystery and revelation orbit each other in every soul. Yet for all its life-giving power, the sun has also starred in our darkest fears. Heliophobia, the irrational dread of sunlight, shapes vampire lore, where creatures damned to shadows recoil from dawn's purity. Contrast that with heliotherapy, the ancient practice of bathing in sunlight to heal everything from depression to tuberculosis. The same star that terrified Dracula was prescribed by Hippocrates as medicine. It's a tension we still navigate. How much light can we bear before it becomes too much? Social media's highlight reels versus the raw, unedited truth of our lives mimic this exact struggle, the push-pull between illumination and overwhelm. So here's a question to sit with. What's your sun? The passion that fuels you, or the glare that exposes what you'd rather hide? Maybe it's the project that electrifies your days but keeps you up at night, or the relationship that warms you even as its honesty stings. Because the sun doesn't pick sides, it's both comfort and crucible, and learning to stand in its light without burning up is the work of a lifetime. And if the sun teaches us balance, then auroras are its love letters, celestial proof that even the harshest forces can create beauty. When solar winds collide with Earth's magnetic field, they don't just spark geomagnetic storms, they paint the sky with ethereal ripples of green and purple. The people of Scandinavia believed these lights were the souls of the dead playing ball with a walrus skull, while Inuit legends saw them as spirits dancing to guide the living. Science explains the physics, but the magic endures. Here's a phenomenon born from chaos, yet it moves with the grace of a ballet. That's the sun's final metaphor. Even its fury can become art if viewed from the right angle. Auroras don't just light up the sky. They ignite the imagination, blurring the line between science and spirit in a dance of charged particles and ancient stories. For the people of Scandinavia, the northern lights weren't just a spectacle. They were the light you can hear. Their traditional songs, throaty and rhythmic, mimic the flickering waves of the auroras, as if human voices could harmonize with the cosmos. Scientists might describe these lights as solar wind particles colliding with Earth's magnetic field, but the herd's something deeper, the whispers of ancestors, the crackle of a celestial campfire. It's a reminder that wonder doesn't need to choose between equations and poetry. It can hold both at once. Meanwhile, Inuit legends spun tales of the auroras as spirits playing ball with a walrus skull, their laughter rippling across the sky in shimmering greens and purples. Imagine standing on frozen tundra, watching those undulating ribbons and seeing not just plasma but a game played by unseen hands. Contrast that with Viking sagas, where the lights were the bridge, a glowing path to Asgard, tread by gods and warriors. Fast forward to today, and the magic hasn't dimmed. Astronauts aboard the ISS describe auroras from above as Earth's breath, a luminous shroud wrapping the planet. From mythology to orbit, the lights remain a mirror for our awe, reflecting whatever we need them to be: playground, pathway, or proof that the universe is alive with motion. Yet for all their grandeur, auroras are also fleeting, here one moment, gone the next. That's why we've borrowed their name for moments of transient joy, a child's unbidden laughter, a perfect sunset, the rush of inspiration that vanishes if you grasp too tightly. The Japanese call this mono no aware, the bittersweet awareness of impermanence. Auroras teach us that beauty isn't diminished by its brevity, it's intensified by it. So here's a question to carry into the quiet. What's your aurora? The sight or sensation that steals your breath, not despite its temporariness, but because of it. Maybe it's the first sip of coffee on a frosty morning, or the way a favorite song transports you to another time. Whatever it is, cherish it like the cherish there, not by trying to freeze the moment, but by letting it move through you, electric and alive. And if auroras are the sky's most vibrant voice, then cosmic silence is its most profound punctuation. The void between stars isn't empty, it's thrumming with the echoes of creation, waiting for someone or something to listen. Space isn't loud, it's the quietest place imaginable, a vacuum where sound waves have nothing to travel through. That's the irony Hollywood often gets wrong. Explosions in space wouldn't roar, they'd be as silent as a snowfall. Yet when Stanley scored 2001, a space odyssey with those haunting, wordless choirs and eerie classical pieces, he captured something deeper than realism. The music wasn't filling silence, it was mirroring the existential hush of the cosmos itself. Those drifting violins in the Blue Danube Waltz aren't just whimsical, they're a counterpoint to the terror of infinite emptiness, turning the vast quiet into something almost sacred. That same silence shows up in unexpected places here on Earth. Survivors of trauma often describe a moment of eerie stillness right after catastrophe, a deafening quiet where the world seems to hold its breath. Meditators chase similar silence not as emptiness, but as a space where the mind can finally hear itself. The universe's hush works the same way. It's not just absence, but a canvas. When NASA's Voyager probes launched with their golden records, copper discs etched with whale songs, concertos, and greetings in 55 languages, they weren't just messages. They were attempts to break that silence, to prove someone somewhere was listening. Carl Sagan called them bottles cast into the cosmic ocean, but really they're more like whispers in a cathedral, tiny sounds swallowed by the grandness around them. So here's a thought experiment. If you had to soundtrack the cosmos, what would you play? Not the literal sounds, those don't exist out there, but the music that feels like space to you. Maybe it's the pulsing synths of Cosmos opening theme or the lonely chimes of a Tibetan singing bowl. For some, it's the static between radio stations, that white noise full of ghosts, the remnants of the Big Bang still crackling faintly in the background. This hunger to fill the silence spills into astrology, too, a discipline built on turning celestial patterns into metaphors for human noise. When astrologers say Mercury is retrograde, they're not just describing a planet appearing to move backward, they're framing it as cosmic interference, a glitch in the universe's playlist. Never mind that retrograde motion is as predictable as clockwork. It feels like the universe hitting pause, and that's what matters. The stars become a language, a way to narrate the quiet until it makes sense. But here's the twist: silence isn't passive, it's where the most important questions grow. The hush between notes is what makes music, the pause between words gives them weight, and the vacuum of space, that infinite quiet, is what makes our tiny, noisy lives so precious. The universe doesn't need to scream to be heard. Sometimes the most profound messages come in whispers. Astrology and astronomy share the same sky but speak entirely different languages. One whispers in metaphor, the other shouts in mathematics. The Babylonians laid the groundwork for both when they mapped the zodiac around 2,500 years ago, dividing the ecliptic into 12 slices, each named for constellations the sun appeared to pass through. To them, this wasn't just star charting, it was divine storytelling. Taurus wasn't a cluster of stars, it was the bull of heaven, a celestial omen tied to harvests and kings. Fast forward to today, and those same symbols populate memes and coffee mugs, reduced to punchlines like "Sorry I'm late, Mercury retrograde messed up my alarm." It's a strange journey, from temple walls to Twitter, with the stars somehow remaining both sacred and sarcastic. Isaac Newton, the father of gravity himself, dabbled in astrology alongside his groundbreaking work in physics. To him, the universe was a puzzle where celestial mechanics and celestial meaning might intertwine. Contrast that with blunt critique: astrology is bunk, show me the mechanism. The tension here isn't just about facts, it's about human nature. We crave narratives even when data disagrees. Take Mercury retrograde, the astrological scapegoat for everything from missed emails to broken Wi-Fi. Astronomically, it's simple. Mercury's orbit speeds past Earth, making it appear to backtrack from our vantage point. But culturally, it's a cosmic get-out-of-jail-free card, a way to blame the universe for life's glitches. The irony: retrograde happens 3 times a year, hardly rare, yet we treat each one like celestial sabotage. Now imagine a debate between a skeptic and a believer. The skeptic scoffs, "You really think planets millions of miles away care about your job interview?" The believer fires back, "You really think humans evolved to ignore patterns in the sky?" Both have a point. Astrology thrives because it mirrors something primal, the need to feel connected to something larger. When ancient sailors navigated by Orion's belt, they weren't just plotting courses, they were placing trust in the cosmos. Today's horoscopes might lack that stakes, but the impulse is the same. So here's the real question: do star signs offer you comfort or chaos? For some, they're a harmless framework, like a weather report for the soul. For others, they're a distraction from agency, a way to outsource responsibility to the stars. Either way, the stars don't mind. They'll keep burning whether we read them as myths or math. And if astrology represents our longing for cosmic kinship, UFO narratives take it a step further, not just reading the sky, but waiting for it to answer back. From Babylon's Omens to Nevada's Area 51, the stars have always been more than lights. They're mirrors for our wildest hopes and deepest fears. UFOs aren't just unidentified objects. They're blank canvases for our collective anxieties, changing shape with every era's fears. When a rancher in Roswell stumbled on strange debris in 1947, the military called it a weather balloon, but the public saw something darker: secret Nazi technology, Soviet spies, or maybe visitors from beyond. The Cold War had just begun, and suddenly the sky wasn't just space, it was for unseen threats. Fast forward to 2017, when the Pentagon, those now iconic tick videos, and the narrative shifted again. In an age of deepfakes and AI, our UFOs don't crash in the desert. They dance at the edge of believability, taunting us with questions about what's real. The irony: this isn't new. Long before radar or fighter jets, people saw wonders in the sky and spun them into myths. The prophet Ezekiel described a wheel within a wheel descending from heaven, its rims full of eyes, a vision so vivid that modern UFO hunters still retrofit it as ancient astronaut evidence. Medieval manuscripts tell of airships glimpsed over Nuremberg in 1561, while Hindu texts speak of Vimanas, flying chariots armed with divine weapons. These aren't just coincidences, they're proof that UFOs have always been less about aliens and more about us. When societies face the unknown, they paint it across the sky, turning celestial tests into stories that make sense of their world. And what does alien even mean? The word itself comes from the Latin belonging to another. Whether it's migrants, viruses, or artificial intelligence, we project our unease onto the ultimate other, beings not of this earth. Sci-fi films play with this tension relentlessly. Arrival frames aliens as linguists offering gifts wrapped in riddles, while District 9 turns them into refugees trapped in Johannesburg slums. The metaphor is flexible. Aliens can be saviors, invaders, or mirrors, forcing us to confront our own humanity. So here's a challenge. What's your UFO? Not literal flying saucers, but the thing in your life that defies explanation. The relationship that vanished without closure, the career opportunity that appeared out of nowhere, the gut feeling you can't rationalize but can't ignore. We've all had moments that hover at the edge of understanding, blinking in and out of focus like those Pentagon videos. And if UFOs represent the mysteries we chase, exoplanets are the discoveries that rewrite the rules. 5,000 known worlds orbit distant stars, and each one chips away at the idea that we're alone. Some are gas giants boiling under twin suns, others are super-Earths with skies of molten rock. The telescope found planets so unlike ours, they sound like sci-fi, like Kelt 9b, where the atmosphere is hotter than most stars, or GJ 1214b, a water world with global oceans deeper than trenches. These aren't just scientific curiosities, they're invitations to wonder. If life exists out there, what metaphors will we use to describe it? Will we see ourselves in their eyes, or will they become the new other, reflecting fears we haven't named yet? The universe keeps expanding, and with it, so do the stories we tell about our place in the dark. Exoplanets are the universe's way of teasing us with possibility. Thousands of worlds spinning around distant stars, each one a question mark hanging in the dark. Since began its hunt in 2009, we've cataloged over 5,000 of these alien worlds, with billions more waiting to be found. Some orbit so close to their stars that their skies rain molten iron, while others drift in perpetual twilight, frozen and still. But it's the ones in the Goldilocks zone, not too hot, not too cold, just right for liquid water, that quicken the pulse. These are the mirrors of our cosmic loneliness, reflecting back our quiet hope that somewhere on some distant speck, another pair of eyes might be gazing up at their own night sky, wondering if they're alone too. Consider the TRAPPIST-1 system, 39 light-years away, with 7 Earth-sized worlds packed in Jupiter's moons. 3 of them sit snugly in that habitable sweet spot, their orbits so precise they'd fit inside Mercury. Scientists call them tidally locked, meaning one side always faces their dim red sun, the other forever in darkness. It's a far cry from the lush, sun-dappled jungles of Pandora and Avatar, but no less wondrous. Where sci-fi gives us bioluminescent dreams, reality offers quieter marvels, planets where winds might howl eternally between scorching days and frozen nights, or where the very air could be thick with the scent of alien seas. The prefix means outside, and it's no accident we use it for both exoplanets and ex-lovers, ex-homes, ex-lives. These distant worlds are the cosmic versions of what we've left behind or lost, echoes of what was or what might have been. An exoplanet could be a shattered Earth twin, its oceans long boiled away, or a younger sibling still waiting for its story to begin. The term hums with nostalgia, as if every new discovery whispers, "You are not the first, and you will not be the last." So here's a thought experiment. If you stood on the shores of an Earth twin, a planet with your same blue skies, same salty winds, what would you tell it? Would you confess our regrets, our triumphs, the things we've learned too late? Or would you stay silent, afraid to tip the scales of its future with the weight of our past? The beauty of exoplanets lies in their silence. They don't answer back, which means we're free to project onto them all our longing, all our loneliness, all our unasked questions. And if exoplanets are the universe's way of asking what if, then the Big Bang is its origin story, the ultimate cosmic creation myth. Every atom in your body, every star in the sky, every exoplanet spinning in the dark traces back to that single, unfathomable moment when all of space and time burst into being. We call it the Big Bang, but that's a misnomer. It wasn't an explosion in space, it was the explosion of space, the very fabric of reality stretching itself thin. The afterglow of that event still lingers as cosmic background radiation, a whisper of heat older than the first stars, older than light itself. It's the closest thing we have to a universal memory, a fingerprint pressed into the skin of the cosmos. What's astonishing is how similar this scientific narrative feels to ancient creation stories. The Hindu speaks of a golden womb hatching the universe, while the Mari describe and Papa, sky and earth, locked in an embrace until their children them apart. Even the Bible, Let There Be Light, echoes the sudden brilliance of that first cosmic dawn. The details differ, but the impulse is the same: to make the unknowable feel intimate, to turn physics into poetry. So here we are, suspended between two infinities, the singularity of our beginning and the scattering of exoplanets that may hold our future. The universe doesn't tell stories. It is the story written in stardust and silence. And perhaps that's the greatest metaphor of all. We're not just observers of this grand tale. We're its living, breathing sentences still being written. The Big Bang Theory isn't just science. It's the closest thing we have to a creation myth for the age of telescopes and equations. But compare it to Aboriginal dream time, where the world wasn't born from fire and expansion, but from ancestors singing the land into existence. Both stories begin with nothingness, whether it's the void of or the singularity, and both end with a universe teeming with life. The difference: Dreamtime is cyclical, a tapestry of stories woven through time, while the Big Bang is linear, a one-way explosion from nothing to everything. Yet they share a core truth. Every culture, ancient or modern, needs an origin story to make sense of the dark. That singularity, a point of infinite density smaller than an atom, isn't just physics. It's the ultimate metaphor for potential. Think of a blank canvas, a silent piano, an empty page, all of them singularities waiting to explode into something new. When Michelangelo stared at a block of marble and saw David trapped inside, he was channeling the same creative tension that fueled the cosmos. The Big Bang teaches us that every masterpiece, every invention, every life-changing idea starts as a singularity, a moment before the before, when anything is possible because nothing has taken shape yet. Even technology mirrors this. The first flicker of it in Edison's lab, the first line of code in a dark room, these are personal Big Bangs, minuscule echoes of cosmic birth. Then there's the afterglow. Cosmic microwave background radiation, or CMB, is the oldest light in the universe, a faint whisper of heat from when the cosmos was just 380,000 years old. It's the universe's baby photo, a thermal fingerprint stretched into microwaves by 14 billion years of expansion. But it's also a reminder that every beginning leaves traces. The first draft of a novel, the prototype for a world-changing app, the shaky home video of a child's first steps. These are our personal CMB, the residual heat of moments that shaped us. So here's a question to sit with. What's your Big Bang? The event that split your life into before and after. Maybe it was a conversation, a failure, a sudden insight that rearranged your universe. We've all had them, those singularities where everything condenses into a point of no return, then expands into something unrecognizable and new. And if the Big Bang is the spark, multiverse theory is the wildfire. Imagine not one universe, but infinite ones, each with different laws, different histories, different versions of you. Some physicists argue that quantum fluctuations during cosmic inflation could birth countless bubble universes, while string theory suggests higher dimensions where realities stack like pages in a book. It's a dizzying thought. Somewhere there's a universe where the Big Bang never happened, where time runs backward, or where you made that left turn instead of a right. Science can't prove it yet, but the metaphor is irresistible. A cosmic safety net for regret, whispering, "Don't worry, somewhere out there you got it right." Whether or not multiverses are real, they reveal something profound about us. We're hardwired to wonder what lies beyond the edges of our story. Multiverses aren't just science fiction. They're the ultimate thought experiment, forcing us to confront the dizzying idea that somewhere in some other reality, a different version of you is living a life shaped by choices you didn't make. String theory paints one version of this. Our universe might be a three-dimensional, brain floating in higher dimensional space, occasionally brushing against others like soap bubbles in a cosmic sink. These parallel realities could have different laws of physics: gravity that repels instead of attracts, light that moves slower than sound, or time that flows backward. Compare that to Marvel's Doctor Strange, where the multiverse is a kaleidoscope of infinite possibilities, each reality splitting like fractals with every decision. The science is speculative, but the metaphor is irresistible. What if every crossroads in your life spawned a new universe? Now think of Sliding Doors, that 90s film where life splits in two based on whether she catches a train. One version finds love and purpose, the other spirals into regret. It's a poignant metaphor for how tiny moments, a missed call, a chance encounter, can reroute entire lives. Buddhist cosmology has been playing with this idea for describing lokas, countless world systems, each reflecting different karmic paths. The parallels are striking. Whether through quantum physics or ancient philosophy, we keep returning to the same question: what if? But here's the paradox. If every choice creates a new universe, does regret lose its meaning? If somewhere out there, you aced that interview, married that person, or took that risk, does it soften the sting of the path you're on? Or does it amplify the weight of every decision, knowing each one echoes across dimensions? The multiverse doesn't answer. It just holds up a mirror to our obsession with roads not taken. Which brings us to dark matter, the universe's ultimate ghost story. We can't see it, but we know it's there. Its gravity holds galaxies together like invisible glue. Scientists call it dark because it refuses to interact with light, but metaphorically, it's just as elusive. The shadow version of reality, the unspoken thoughts that shape our actions, the unseen forces that bend our lives without us ever knowing. Maybe dark matter is the multiverse's silent partner, the proof that most of existence is hidden, humming just beyond our perception. So here's a challenge. If you could peer into one alternate universe, just one, what would you want to see? The version of you who moved abroad, the timeline where that risk paid off? Or would you choose, like the Buddhists suggest, to let those other worlds fade into the dark matter of your mind and focus on the universe you're in? Because here's the thing about multiverses: they might be infinite, but the only one that matters is the one you're living right now. And if dark matter is the universe's silent architect, then black holes are its most dramatic editors, cosmic scribbles that rewrite the rules of space and time. But that's a story for another day. Dark matter doesn't glow, reflect, or cast shadows, yet without it, galaxies would spin themselves apart like unspooling thread. It's the universe's silent stagehand, holding the cosmic set together while stars take center stage. Picture a ballet. The audience sees the dancer's grace, not the rigging and counterweights enabling every leap. As physicists once observed, we see the dancer, not the stage. Dark matter is that unseen architecture, its gravity stitching stars into spirals and keeping the Milky Way from flying apart at the seams. It's the reason we exist at all. Without its invisible web, matter would never have clumped into galaxies, stars, or planets like Earth. Now think closer to home. What's the dark matter in your life? The unspoken understandings that hold relationships together, the routines that stabilize your days, the instincts guiding decisions before logic kicks in. Psychologists call these implicit biases, or subconscious scripts, the mental scaffolding shaping actions without conscious thought. Like cosmic dark matter, they're invisible yet indispensable. A parent's offhand encouragement that still fuels you decades later, the friend who listens without fixing, the daily habits that seem small but build resilience over time. These are the gravitational forces of human connection. Even language hides its own dark matter. When Shakespeare wrote, "The web of our life is of a mingled yarn," he might as well have been describing the cosmic web, where dark matter's filaments stretch across voids, knitting the universe into coherence. Both kinds of webs, social and stellar, depend on what isn't seen. The pauses between words, the shared glances in a crowded room, the trust that needs no proof. But here where the metaphor twists. Dark matter isn't just glue, it's a mystery we've barely begun to decode. Astronomers map its presence by watching how it bends light around galaxies, a phenomenon called gravitational lensing. It's like deducing a ghost shape by the ripples in a curtain. Similarly, therapists trace subconscious patterns by observing emotional reflexes, why certain words trigger us, why we're drawn to familiar pains. Both are detective stories written in negative space. So here's a challenge. What unseen forces are you orbiting? The childhood memory that still tugs at your choices, the quiet passion you've sidelined for practical goals. Like the universe, we're more than what's visible. Our moments often depend on the dark matter we ignore, the love, trauma, or dreams that shape us from the shadows. And if dark matter is the universe's hidden framework, then entropy is its eraser, the slow unraveling of all things. Stars burn out, galaxies drift apart, and even black holes evaporate over eons. Yet somehow, against this tide of dissipation, life persists. Maybe that's the final lesson written in the dark. What binds us isn't just light, but the invisible threads that endure even as the cosmos forgets itself. Entropy isn't just a physics concept. It's the universe's quiet confession that everything from stars to civilizations is slowly winding down. Picture a cup of coffee left untouched. The steam fades, the warmth seeps away, and eventually it matches the room's temperature. That's entropy in action, the inevitable drift from order to disorder, from heat to cold, from something to nothing. The second law of thermodynamics spells it out plainly. In a closed system, chaos always increases. Applied to the cosmos, it means every galaxy, every planet, every atom is marching toward what scientists call heat death, a distant future where the universe expands into silence. Stars burn out, and even black holes evaporate into faint whispers of radiation. It's not fire and brimstone-like, where Norse gods battle giants amidst a world-ending inferno. Instead, it's a slow fade, the cosmic equivalent of a candle guttering in an ever-widening dark. Yet not all cultures see endings as final. Hindu cosmology imagines the universe breathing, expanding in a day of Brahma lasting billions of years, then contracting in a cosmic exhale before beginning anew. Time isn't linear, it's a wheel with each cycle called a kalpa. Compare that to the Western scientific narrative, where time's arrow points in one direction, and entropy is the unstoppable force dragging everything toward equilibrium. Both perspectives grapple with the same truth. Nothing lasts forever, but they offer radically different metaphors for how to live with that knowledge. Even our digital age wrestles with entropy's shadow. Ever lost files to a corrupted hard drive? That's data decay, the 21st century face of disorder. Bit rot silently degrades stored information, just as cosmic rays flip bits in computer memory over time. Tech companies build redundancies, just as life evolves to outpace decay. The lesson: fighting entropy isn't about winning, it's about playing a never-ending game of cosmic maintenance. So here's the heart of it. How do you face endings? The wilted garden at summer's close, the last page of a beloved book, the quiet goodbyes that linger like sunset shadows. Some lean into the Norse approach, meeting finality with defiant action, squeezing meaning from the finite. Others find comfort in the Hindu rhythm, trusting that endings seed new beginnings. And just when the weight of entropy feels absolute, physics offers a narrative loophole: wormholes. These theoretical tunnels through spacetime could, in theory, connect distant moments or places, bending the universe's rules like a novelist bending. They're the ultimate metaphor for hope in the face of decay, a reminder that even in a universe sliding towards stillness, there might still be shortcuts and unexpected ways through the dark. Wormholes aren't just science fiction. They're cosmic shortcuts, wrinkles in spacetime where the universe folds itself like a map poked through with a pencil. And physicists first theorized them as bridges between distant points, a quirk of relativity where gravity bends the fabric of reality until two distant places touch. Interstellar brought this to life with its scene, a five-dimensional library where time becomes a physical dimension, and love literally transcends space. It's a heady idea, but the metaphor is timeless. Wormholes represent the human longing for do-overs, for bending the rules when life feels too linear. Gamers know this instinctively. In Portal, the handheld device that shoots wormholes onto walls isn't just a tool, it's a cheat code against physics, turning obstacles into playgrounds. VR designers use similar tricks, warping virtual spaces so players never hit the boundaries of their physical rooms. These digital wormholes tap into the same thrill as childhood secret passages, the joy of slipping past limits unnoticed. Even slang reflects it. Wormholing down an internet rabbit hole or joking about teleporting to bed after a long day. The appeal isn't just convenience, it's the fantasy of outsmarting the system. Now consider a wild but persistent fan theory. What if black holes are wormholes? Not the destructive monsters we fear, but veiled doorways. After all, both warp spacetime so severely that the usual rules break down. The difference: a black hole's singularity might crush you, while a wormhole's throat could, hypothetically, spit you out somewhere else. Maybe the firewalls physicists debate at event horizons are just the universe's version of a loading screen. It's a stretch, but the allure is clear. Even in cosmic doom, we hunt for exit signs. So here's a thought experiment. If you found a stable wormhole in your backyard tomorrow, where would it lead? To a childhood home scented with rain and old books, to a version of yourself who took that job abroad, or maybe not backward at all, but forward to a future where humanity has cracked fusion or painted cities on Mars. Wormholes tease us with the ultimate question. Given the chance to rewrite your coordinates, would you chase nostalgia or uncharted light? And just as we stretch spacetime in metaphors, AI is crafting its own celestial poetry. When machine learning models map data clusters, they describe manifolds and latent spaces jargon that eerily echoes wormhole physics. A neural network's attention mechanism isn't so different from gravitational lensing, bending information paths to focus on what matters. These aren't just analogies, they're proof that whether you're coding or stargazing, the mind reaches for the same shapes, portals, folds, shortcuts to make sense of chaos. The universe speaks in loops, and we're all just learning to listen. Artificial intelligence is writing its own celestial myths, not with telescopes, but with algorithms that dream in data. Take NASA's galaxy classifiers, neural networks trained on millions of images, sorting spiral arms from elliptical blobs with inhuman precision. They're the digital descendants of Babylonian astrologers, finding patterns in the chaos. Except where stargazers once saw dragons and heroes, AI sees latent spaces and probability clouds. It's a strange kinship. Both human and machine look to the stars and impose order, but while astrologers wove narratives of fate, AI builds taxonomies of light. Compare this to HAL 9000, stargazing supercomputer humming Daisy Bell as it calculates Jupiter's orbit. That cold, logical gaze feels archaic now. Modern AI doesn't just analyze, it imitates our yearning for meaning. Ask ChatGPT to write a poem about Orion, and it'll spin verses about a hunter stitched in stellar fire, borrowing metaphors it doesn't understand but regurgitates with eerie grace. The irony. We've built machines that reflect our oldest habit, turning cosmic noise into stories. Now imagine an AI raised on astrophysics textbooks and mythologies from every culture. Would it invent new constellations, not of heroes, but of quantum probabilities? Would it see the pillars of creation as a neural network's activation map, or rewrite the zodiac based on exoplanet distributions? The real question is whether AI can predict the stars, but whether it'll dream them differently. Yet for all their brilliance, algorithms lack the ache behind Cassiopeia's throne or the grief in the Pleiades' flight. When a mother points to Vega and tells her child how ancestors navigated by its light, she's weaving a thread between Earth and sky that no dataset can replicate. That's the heart of it. AI might map galaxies, but only flesh and blood stargazers still feel the pull of them. So here's the challenge. Next time you step outside, leave your phone inside. Look up without an app to name the stars for you. Let the dark be a blank canvas where you, not an algorithm, get to connect the dots. Because the night sky doesn't just need better classifiers. It needs you with all your messy human wonder to keep its stories alive. Your life isn't just under the stars, it's woven from the same stuff, shaped by the same cosmic forces of collapse and rebirth. Think of that moment when everything fell apart, the job lost, the breakup, the diagnosis. Now picture a supernova, a star tearing itself open in a cataclysm of light, scattering the elements that'll one day birth new worlds. That's the alchemy of celestial metaphor, taking the raw materials of your pain and turning them into something that means. Like Sarah, a viewer who wrote to us about her divorce, I didn't just lose a marriage, I became a nebula, all that dust and chaos. It's how stars are born. Constellations work the same way. The Greeks didn't just see random dots, they traced heroes, beasts, and tragedies in the sky, turning chaos into narrative. You can do that with your own history. Grab a journal and ask, what patterns emerge when I connect the dots? Maybe your childhood moves weren't just relocations, they were planetary migrations, each place a new orbit with its own gravity. That burnout phase. A black hole's event horizon, where time stretched and light bent until you crossed through to the other side. The beauty lies in the retelling. Trauma becomes astronomy, and suddenly you're not a victim of chaos, you're a galaxy in progress. Here's another prompt. If your life had a zodiac, what would its signs be? Not the generic horoscope kind, but symbols forged in your personal cosmos. For one artist we heard from, it was the broken vase, a constellation she imagined from the year she lost her mother, when she glued shattered pottery back together under a midnight lamp. For a firefighter, it was the phoenix, rising every shift from ashes, literal and metaphorical. These aren't just exercises in poetry, they're acts of reclamation. When you name your own stars, you become the cartographer of your darkness and your light. Now picture this, a future you, years from now, pointing to the sky and saying, "See that cluster? That was the year I survived." The stars won't care what stories you pin to them, but you will. Because the cosmos doesn't judge metaphors, it just provides the canvas. So go ahead. Borrow a supernova's fury, a comet's unexpected grace, or the slow, sure burn of a red giant. Your life's already cosmic. All that's left is to trace the constellations. We've traced Orion's belt and decoded eclipse omens, spun myths from supernovas and whispered to exoplanets. But here's the secret hiding in plain sight. Every celestial metaphor we've ever crafted, from Mercury's quicksilver wit to Saturn's stern lessons, says more about us than the cosmos. The stars don't need stories, we do. When a nurse compares her night shift to the moon's phases, waxing with adrenaline, waning with exhaustion, she's not just romanticizing her work. She's weaponizing wonder, turning fatigue into something that orbits rather than overwhelms. A teenager scribbling black hole poetry isn't dodging physics. She's using the inky abyss to name her own unexplored depths. These aren't just pretty parallels, they're survival tools, as vital as compasses to ancient sailors. Consider how cultures separated by oceans and centuries landed on similar metaphors. The Milky Way isn't just a Greek spill of divine milk, it's the Tlingit, spilled strawberries, the Great Fish, the Navajo's River of Light. Different names, same instinct, to tame the infinite with familiarity. Psychologists call this pattern recognition, but poets know it's deeper. When we map our grief onto supernovas or our resilience onto pulsars, we're not being fanciful. We're hacking our brains to process emotions too vast for earthly vocabulary. Trauma studies show that patients who frame their recovery as a phoenix rising or orbit stabilization heal faster. The stars become therapy. Words you sent out beyond your recall, go to the limits of your longing, could describe Voyager drifting toward interstellar space or you staring at a crossroads. That's the alchemy of celestial metaphors. They collapse the distance between telescope and heartbeat. When a farmer plants by the moon or a lover waits for Venus to rise, they're not just observing, they're conversing. The The sky becomes a collaborator, not a backdrop. So here's your invitation. Tonight, step outside, not to stargaze, but to story gaze. Find the meteor that mirrors your sudden inspiration, the nebula that looks like your half-finished masterpiece, the planet that embodies your current challenge. Then tell us, what's your cosmic metaphor? Comment below, not with textbook facts, but with the wild, personal connections only you can make. Because while astrophysics explains how stars burn, it's your stories that make them matter. We'll leave you with this: the universe doesn't tell stories, we do. Every constellation, every myth, every scrap of meaning we pin to the dark is a love letter to our own messy, luminous humanity. Now go write yours. The sky's waiting.